Welcome! In this episode we're going to build 3 elevated or tall sprinkler heads. I'll show you how I use 2 of these elevated heads in this episode, and we'll use the 3rd head in episode 19, which shows you how to add, move, or change a sprinkler head. I thought you should see how well these elevated heads work before you decide to go through the rest of this episode and learn my process for building them. These are the 2 heads that we're going to build in this episode. As you can see, they thoroughly and effectively water a flower, large plant, or garden area. They cover the area very effectively, especially when they are interlocking. I have a 3rd elevated head at the far end of the berm, which I installed 3 years ago, and it also works very well. You can adjust these RAINBIRD impact sprinklers as necessary for the height, distance, and width of spray you need. Okay, now that you've seen these heads in action, let's go to work. For each sprinkler head, you'll need these PVC parts. From left to right, they are as follows. 1 Schedule 40 1-inch PVC T, 2 Schedule 40 1-inch PVC couplings, 2 Schedule 40 PVC reducer bushings having a 1-inch diameter with 1/2-inch threads. When going through the boxes at Home Depot or Lowe's, ensure that you select the bushings with threads. Sometimes customers going through these boxes will mix these bushings up. When I bought mine, I erroneously purchased 1 bushing without threads. And you'll also need 1 Schedule 40 1-inch PVC cap. For each elevated head, you'll also need 1 1/2-inch plastic elbow and 1 RAINBIRD plastic impact sprinkler head, or a more expensive RAINBIRD Deluxe impact sprinkler head. Please note that I've been running plastic heads on 3 elevated PVC sprinkler heads that I built 3 years ago and haven't had any problems yet. However, if one of these plastic heads does fail, I'll replace it with a brass head. These are the tools and material that you will need. They include PVC, cement and primer, adequate lengths of PVC pipe, and paint. Considering that I'm installing these elevated heads in my wife's flower garden, I painted them with this hunter green Rust-Oleum so they would blend in with her plants. You'll also need a cutting tool. If you cut PVC pipe from time to time, I recommend that you purchase a PVC pipe cutter similar to this one, which I bought from Home Depot for less than $20. It easily makes clean cuts with no mess. Otherwise, you can use a standard saw, hacksaw, sawzall, or any other kind of saw. I have all the elevated sprinkler head components laid out here. Let's start from the top. This is the elevated shaft, which is 22.5 inches long. We'll attach the PVC union here to accommodate the reducer bushing with 1/2-inch threads for the plastic impact sprinkler head. The elevated shaft slides into our PVC T-fitting and will add a 4-inch extension going downward into the ground with a cap. For the water entering into the elevated sprinkler head, we'll insert a second 4-inch extension into the T-fitting and a second threaded reducer bushing. Lastly, we'll screw in our 90-degree elbow connection. We plan to bury this at the 4-inch level here, and I like to run my lines at 4 inches and do not like to go any deeper in flower beds. And we have an additional 4 inches extending down into the ground for more stability. Basically, you have this portion of the sprinkler head buried below the ground to provide for a very sturdy and secure structure. There is one item that I did not mention. As you can see here, we have water coming in, filling the lower chamber if not obstructed, and then going up to the top of the sprinkler head. In the winter, you do not want water in this region. It makes the sprinkler head very susceptible to freezing, cracking, and leaking. Consequently, we are going to insert a plastic plug into this portion of the PVC T to prevent water from coming down into this area. This approach works great. I have installed these plugs into 3 sprinkler heads which have been operational for 3 years without any leakage problems. To make these plugs, we're going to use some of this thick plastic sheet material that I got from one of my table saw blades. We'll start by tracing out patterns and then cut them out. Okay, we have all of our components laid out here on our ready to glue together. We have our PVC primer here, PVC glue here. First thing I'd like to do is insert the barrier, the plastic barrier that I talked about before, down into the T here. And I don't think we need to apply any glue at this time because the glue will in turn soon hold in place. So the barrier is very hard to see, but the barrier is in place. I can feel it. So basically what I'll do is apply some primer and then a little bit of PVC glue, and with the barrier in place we'll glue it. Anytime you're dealing with PVC, you should always twist it while you're applying it, gluing it together. Primer here off the end cap and a little bit of glue. Okay, so that's in place. The T-section from the side, we'll put primer in here. A bit of glue on the 4-inch section. The union, a bit of primer, glue. Turn the union on. Inside the threaded cap, glue. Says I forgot the primer, but it'll still hold nevertheless. And then from the top, our elevated mast, glue. Okay, and at the very top, our primer for the union, the actual glue by the union itself, and then for the threaded insert, primer on the inside, glue on the inside, and insert this. So that completes the gluing. At this time, clean up a little bit, cut our other pieces, and move on. I'm cutting out the PVC pipe components for the other two elevated heads here. And gluing them together here. So I'm set up out here in the garage. I'm going to paint the elevated portions of the impact sprinkler shafts with hunter green to match the rest of my wife's garden area. And we'll leave the parts that are burying in the ground, just your basic PVC white. Okay, the paint, the hunter green paint, has dried on all three of our elevated sprinkler heads, and we're ready to complete their final assembly. So basically, at this time, we're going to add to each one of them our 90-degree elbow for connecting into the sprinkler system, and on top the RAINBIRD impact sprinkler that I have here. On the elbow, simply screw these in place. And tighten them up by hand. And the reason you don't want to glue them is you could break it off and that you have no way to extract it without cutting your PVC and rebuilding the connections. You definitely don't want to do that. Okay, similar to the 90-degree elbow connection, I would not add glue to your joint where you're going to screw in your impact sprinkler head. So to improve the connection, though, I am going to use some plumber's tape, or they call it here the oddly fast tape, and we'll apply the thin coating of this to the threads. As you see here. And then we'll just screw this in place, get it started. Okay, it took real well, and we'll tighten it up just a tiny bit with a small compressor wrench, just so it's snug. You don't want to tighten it too much and strip the threads. Okay, so that completes this one, and we're going to do the same to the other two.
This concludes this episode showing how to build an elevated or tall sprinkler head. You may also be interested in my other two recent sprinkler system videos. Episode 17 shows you how to easily replace a bad sprinkler head, and episode 19 enables you to add, move, or change a sprinkler head. Otherwise, at this time, I'm moving on to my next project. You're more than welcome to follow. In addition, if you have a great project that you want to post on my YouTube channel, email me some pictures and a brief description of it. If it qualifies for the Let's Fix It Right standards to help others, I'll interview you over the phone as a guest do-it-yourselfer, produce a high-quality video, and post it on my Let's Fix It Right channel. For the year following this posting, I'll share 50% of the potential YouTube benefits with you. If you have any subject matter requests or recommendations, please contact me. All of this said, I recommend that you subscribe to my channel, follow my projects, and save a bundle of money doing it.